Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Is that what you're talking about? Or? But yeah. That's the thing with Portland. I'm sure like lots of people applying for jobs here Manitoba, Winnipeg, and they've never been to Alberta before. But even I've stayed for 4 months. I was there. But then you get through that phase. If I can imagine people come from Alberta and taking 4 months up there. But this is a different. And it's one of those places I've never experienced before. It's like the community helping to head south from the highway. It's every kilometre.
All right, folks. Tansing, Aglanite, elders, members, friends, and partners, welcome to the Athabasca Tribal Council Annual General Meeting. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Carla Buffalo, CEO with the Athabasca Tribal Council. ATC is excited to host you at this lovely location, the Doug Barnes Cabin, as we reflect on this past year and look forward to what's coming next. I'd like to say thank you to Rose Beaton, who was here earlier. She's an ATC community member from the Fort Mackay First Nation for providing the delicious bannock, snacks, and lemonade you enjoyed before beginning our formal program. She's always been one of my favorite caterers in the region, and I'm glad she was able to share her food with us today. I would like to first start with a few housekeeping items. First, thank you to Charles Navajo and Brant Janvier, our fire keepers. I'd like to point out our emergency exits in case they're needed. There's a door to the right, and on through the archway of the balloons is another exit. The washrooms are just behind the picture wall to my right. And as a little memento from ATC, those awesome coffee mugs you were offered as you entered are yours to take home today. Following the presentation, food and refreshments will continue, and we invite you to visit and chat with the ATC Board of Directors and staff from each of our departments. For any media friends in the room, we will have media availability following the presentation with myself and Chief Ellen Adam. Our theme for this meeting is Igniting Growth and Partnership. As the past 2 years of the pandemic have really highlighted the strength we have when we come and work together. I'd now like to invite Elder Shirley Arthurs up to start us with a blessing. Shirley, please join us.
Can you hear me? Thank you. Today we will pray because we need help. So I thought Great Spirit would hear us today. Great Spirit, we are here. We greet you. I'm very honored to be here to see everybody today. That was very good of you all to come. We have sad stories that are coming as a people. And this is what I wanted to ask Great Spirit to help us with. We are getting hurt in many ways, many, many ways. And our children need help badly. I see it everywhere I go, that they are not happy. And I ask the Great Spirit, give us the knowledge to help them, to help our people become a strong nation. For that is what we need. We need good leadership, strong nation, and we need help from one another. We need to help each other as a people. Otherwise, we won't be here. Mother Earth is suffering really bad, and she's crying for our help. So, as a nation and our people, we have to help her. We have to take care of her. We have to feed each other. We have to raise our children to love the earth, because that is our main accomplishment, is our children becoming true warriors and good people of Mother Earth. We must ask them, Mother Earth and all, to help us so we could all join in and love each other, help each other. That is our main thing to go ahead with. So, Great Spirit, help us as a nation and as people to get along and be good to each other. Thank you very much. Hi, hi.
Thank you for those beautiful prayers. I'm always reminded by the chiefs that it's so important to start our day with prayer and to start us in a good way. So thank you to you both. Marcicho. Hi. Now, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with ATC and what we do, I'd like to explain a little bit about us and how the board of directors is selected. ATC is an organization that provides essential services and advocacy for the 5 First Nations within the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo. The shareholders of ATC are Fort McKay First Nation, Mikisew Cree First Nation, Chippewa Prairie Dene First Nation, Fort McMurray 468 First Nation, and the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation, who are represented by the chiefs of those nations who hold their shares in trust for their respective nations. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our board of directors. ATC President and Chief Alan Adam of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation, who everyone I'm sure knows. Chief Peter Powder of the Mikisew Cree First Nation, Chief Ron Kreutzer of the Fort McMurray First Nation, Chief Renjave of the Chippewa Prairie First Nation, and Chief Mel Granjam of the Fort McKay First Nation, who couldn't make it here today, but sends his regrets. I'd like to say a thank you to the following dignitaries for also joining us here today. Grand Chief Arthur Noski, Grand Chief of Treaty 8 First Nations, Deputy Mayor Jane Stroud, Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo, Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo Councillor Kendra Cardle, also wearing the hat of Fort Chippewa Métis President. We've also got councillors here from Athabasca Chippewa First Nation. Flossie Cyprian was here earlier. Welcome. Okay, wonderful. We've also have Councillor Tim Flecht, Councillor Terry Villeburn, and Councillor Cody Marcel. We also have joining us a new councillor to Chippewa Prairie First Nation. Welcome to Shane Janvier, and it's great to have everyone join us. I would like to take a moment to introduce my leadership team and department directors. As I go through, team, if you wouldn't mind giving a wave so everyone can see you in the room. I'd like to introduce Bernie Ness, who is our Chief Operations Officer. Bernie recently joined ATC and has made great strides in handling the internal workings of the Athabasca Tribal Council, allowing me to dedicate more time to advocacy and partnership work that will support continued growth of the organization. We also have Roxanne Stuckless in the room. Hi, Roxanne. Roxanne's our Health Department Director. Roxanne has been fearless in the last 2 years dealing with the pandemic and maintaining a health supports that ATC provides to our members. Her dedication has been the driving force behind much of the success we have seen in weathering these unprecedented times. Roxanne is planning a well-deserved retirement soon, and although finding someone to fill her shoes will be a challenge, I am happy to see her take on a more relaxed chapter of her life after leading the organization and our region through the pandemic. I can see her tearing up, which is making my heart swell a little bit. We have Elena Gould, Education, Culture, and Language Director. Elena is our champion of collaboration and partnership to promote Indigenous and cultural identity and revitalization. Her work has recently been recognized by the Institute of the Advancement of Aboriginal Women, who presented her with a prestigious Esqueo Cultural Award. Congratulations to Elena. Maybrit Jensen, Employment, absolutely. Maybrit Jensen, who is our Employment and Training Director, through her partnerships with Keano College, funders, industry, and employers, Maybrit helps community members achieve their career goals. I would like to congratulate Maybrit on her transition also to semi-retirement. We will miss Maybrit's leadership that she has shown at ATC over the course of her career. As we know, she has impacted so many lives throughout our region. We also have Charlene McGraw, who's Child and Family Services Director. Charlene leads a team of dedicated and resourceful professionals who are changing how Child and Family Services has historically interacted with our communities. These changes are at the heart of the healing our communities need. We also have Scott Fraser, who is our Finance Manager. Scott's leadership of our finance team ensures ATC always stays on track and is fiscally responsible with the funding and programs we produce to serve our community members. Now, with all of these amazing leadership team, we also have an extraordinary ATC staff. I'm so proud of the work our leaders and our team do in accomplishing, and couldn't be more proud of their dedication and accomplishments. I'd like to now ask Chief Ellen Adam, President of ATC, to come up and share a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Chiefs, Grand Chief. Thanks for the prayer for the elders. And it's good to be here and be a part of ATC for the last 19 years, I guess, going on. But, it's a good understanding that, through working relationships and building an atmosphere where people would want to come to work and see what we have accomplished. And the things we have accomplished over the years, that we put our political structure back together, where the 5 First Nations talk to each other, we collaborate with each other, and we get the understanding that working together is strength. And when strength evolves, partnerships evolve. And that's why the majority of you are here today, because of all the relationships that we build as a nation and what ATC brings to the region. And I'm very proud of all the staff that Carla put together at ATC and represents our people. Just a matter of working together from organizations to organizations, and being part of ATC and also being part of Treaty 8, the board of directors. So people ask, what do the chiefs do? We're we're like a Sasquatch, you hear of them, but you hardly see them. And we're all over the place, and we're always lobbying. And one of the things they say about what you guys do, I'm always saying that we're a bunch of hustlers. We hustle really good, and when you see the success of your nation, it's because the hustling that we do. But it's all part of everything that we do, and how we do stuff. And look at all the programs that were delivered through ATC, and the success that we're continuing to grow, because we take our youth, for pride and for example of they are the future leaders. And unfortunately, yesterday in Texas, we all heard about what happened. And as leaders, we don't like to see these things happen. And when I sat down with my wife yesterday, there were tears coming down our face, because we are family members, and everybody gets touched when we lose young ones, especially with this kind of magnitude of tragedies that happen. So always make sure that your loved ones are always being kept care of, and that's our job as chiefs. We look after our family, and we have to follow through. So, and with that, we do some great things and everything. And I just want to talk about the cultural event that's coming up this fall. We have some sponsors that are going out, and I just want to say thank you to Imperial for, you're the main stage sponsor right now, and your tickets been sold on that one. I want to thank the RMWB who sponsored this event for the next 3 years, and they're going to give $150,000, no hands down and everything. So thank you for that. And I also want to say thank you to Bushy Contracting, because they also donated, and they're taking care of the Kids Corner event, and we want to see more donations coming in. I believe the First Nations are going to contribute yet to this event as well, because I know that for a fact. We can't tell you how much yet, so but we will donate, and I expect. You guys want to make that announcement? If you guys want, I could go ahead and make the announcement. We have quorum here, yes we do. And it was already discussed at our table. On behalf of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation, when it comes to the cultural event this fall, we are donating $50,000. And I could say that with a motion passed, so I'm okay and I'm clear to say it. So, other chiefs, stand you guys up, guys. So, but with that, but that's the partnership that we see, right? And we build on what we have, and we leave a legacy behind for ATC. I've been the president there since 2014. I've taken that with great honor. Before that, Chief Grandjan was at the helm, and we just carry on moving forward. And I think this year the president is up for grabs, but I've been told that you can't go nowhere, so we're still the president. So we'll figure that out at a later date. But right now, it's been a blast, and it's very wonderful when you're working for the people, because the success that all the people have from the region shows that the heart that we put into our work is committed. And look at all the things that ATC is doing, and look at the organizations that are thriving all over the place. And we as leaders, we don't say things too much, and we don't congratulate and give our appreciation, because we're too overwhelmed and too busy at times. But congratulations for the job well done, Carla. And, I just want to thank the chiefs, for working together and continuing to build a relationship with ATC. It's been a long haul. It's been a long time, but we stand united. And Chief Grandjan made it very clear the other day that never before have ATC chiefs stand united on issues, and that we still stand together today. You cannot break us anymore. We have a political agenda. We know what we're going to do, and we just need partners to work alongside of us, because if we put it all together right, the whole region is going to benefit. Everybody in the region. That means the municipality, all the industry players, everybody will benefit if they work together with us because we have so much to offer. And the cultural event this fall expresses what we have to offer, just a sharing of family coming together. So with that, I'm Chief Alan Adam of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation and the president of ATC. Thank you, and Marcy Chuck. She put her water up there and I took a drink of it.
Thank you, Chief Adam, for those kind words. Coming and starting to work for ATC, it's been a real honor working for Chief Alan Adam as president. For many, you may not know the amount of time that he puts in behind the scenes. I often call him for advice, for support, for direction, and he never hesitates to attend so many events that are occurring within the community. And he's been a real guiding force and really the glue that has brought the 5 First Nations together over the last number of years. And so he has my utmost respect for the leadership he's shown in the region. So thank you, Chief. I'd like to invite Chief Vern Jambe from Chippewa Prairie First Nation.
Yeah, I've seen Adam make commit. I just lost my mic. No. I'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming out today. Chief, Grand Chief, all the chiefs. You know, it's in, I think when Chief said where Sasquatch is, it's probably a good idea. It's, you know, being the chief, I just got re-elected to my 6th term. It's, each of my terms is 3 years, so this is my 16th year. And once you get used to taking a beating every day, it gets quite easy. And but you still need to like maintain your role as a chief, regardless of whether you're getting beat up or whether you're getting somebody's being nice to you or somebody's fooling you. You still need to maintain your role as chief, as leader, and try to bring integrity into the situation. Try to bring honesty into the situation, and do your best. I was, an elder told me that 16 years ago. He said, "You're the chief now. You're not elected yet, but you're the chief." He told me, and he said, "The best thing you can do," he said, "is work hard, do your best. That's all you can do, and there's nothing more than that." And it's been that. That's the truth of what being a chief is. Do your best you can, and always maintain your integrity. That's all you can do. And I want to kind of explain ATC's role to us as leaders. We have many programs in our communities, and a lot of our staff, sometimes we run into problems. There's things we can't handle. ATC comes in and helps us out. They handle some of the programming, but it's always a backup to whatever we're doing. And then as a regional representative, it's ATC's remained a very strong partner in how we run our nations and what we do. The part that Chief Adam was explaining earlier, for a few years, we were all in different directions. We had different point of views, and the last probably 3 years, we spent a lot of time, Chief Adam, Chief Grandjam, and Chief Krucher. Those are the 3 chiefs that have been there all the time, and they make the commitment to be at every meeting. They make the commitment to always be there and stand up. And Chief Powder, he just this is your 2nd year now. 2nd year in 3 days. It's the team of chiefs has gotten very strong in this region. And when you reach out further from there into the Treaty 8, into the Alberta Chiefs, we do our role out there too. We stand up. ATC, the region here is probably one of the more powerful regions in Canada for two reasons. It's because the commitment that we have from the leadership, the commitment that we have from the oil companies, and lately the commitment from the regional Wood Buffalo, the municipality. The strength is getting stronger, and we're starting to understand each other. But to get there, we really had to take our places for a while. We had to fight, we had to argue. And then we realized in this land where it gets up to minus 50, we have to get along or else we freeze to death. And last summer, I went on a walk from Sudbury, Ontario to Ottawa. And within the first 3 days, we had the OPP, the RCMP, everybody questioning us. And I finally asked them, what is your concern? Why do you have a concern with us? They said, from our perspective, they said, we see something that we've never seen. We see a group of walkers. Normally, we have to feed the walker. We have to give them water. We have to give them a place to sleep. We have to help them with gas. You guys don't need nothing. Well, I said, you don't understand. Where we come from, we work together. I said, the oil companies, the tribal councils, and the band, everybody works together. And what you see me, I said, I've been in business my whole life. And we're supporting this with our nation. And we're not expecting any help. We don't want any help. But I was able to say that with pride. And then I realized something, that we are strong in this region because of that unity we have with everybody. And I think that's the spirit today of what Carla's talking about, is that strength that we have in this region. It's, like I say, the cold, I think, is what keeps us together. And, I want to thank Carla, all the staff, Lady Jane, Kendrick, for coming out and being here, and everybody else. Thank you very much, and have a good day, and let's keep working hard. Thank you.
Oh, is it on? Testing? Okay. Thank you, Chief Janvier. For those that may not know, I'm also a member of Chippewa Prairie First Nation, and so it's been a real interesting journey to be able to sit at the Chief's table and hear the Chief of my community and what he brings to the table. He often reminds us about the importance of culture, connection to land, connection to people, and it's his voice I often hear in the back of my mind when we think about what we want to do in serving our communities and moving forward. So thank you, Chief Janvier. I'd like to invite Chief Ron Kreutzer, Fort McMurray First Nation, 468, to the podium.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming out. I'm known for my many speeches, so I'll just get on it. Thanks, Chief, for being here and putting this on. But I like to give all the industry players a big hand, because that's where it's at, right? And our partnerships with I don't see many here, but all of our partners that we work with need a big hand also, because that's what makes our reserve profitable. Anyways, thanks for coming out there. But yeah, it's I've been with ATC for 11 years now, and it's been we have a meeting every month there, and that really helped us along in some of the stuff we have to do. But it's I'm lost for words now. Anyway, I lost my train of thought there for a second. That comes every now and then. So. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, and that's all I got to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Kreutzer. So Chief Kreutzer says that he's known for his many speeches, although they may be short. I really want to recognize Chief Kreutzer and his commitment to the Athabasca Tribal Council. I know he's often known to be quiet and soft-spoken, but he has been a steady force within our organization. And he has been looked up to from all of the chiefs within our council. And he has a great sense of humor, but he also really keeps the chiefs on track and focusing on what's important and where we're going in the region. And so thank you, Chief Kreutzer, for the leadership you bring to the table. I'd like to also call Chief Peter Powder from Mikisew Cree First Nation.
My biggest supporter. I was Métis before, so everybody still gives me a hard time about that. So I had a choice to pick. I was already writing in this, they brought this. I like old school. You know, when I first came here, I heard some laughter from Chief Byrne, and I went to do my talks one day, and I seen down there, just listen to what you hear, and you hear someone laughing, means you're in a good place. So when I seen Byrne laughing, seen the rest of the chiefs, I was pretty happy that we're all together again. You know, I heard someone speak earlier in Demi. I want to acknowledge Allison, who's my member. I know I didn't see no other members here, but Allison, who works for RMEW, I want to acknowledge her. I always have really good talks with her, and she gives me some good energy. So I'll just do a little short prayer in Cree. Thank you for the prayer, Elder, and thank you for the one for Denny. Yami nan naskama tawi no quest. Tami espayoanos. Miwitin mamuya pekasini wakota. Miwitin naskama tawi no hai. So I just thank the Creator in Cree, because I do pray every morning, and I do. This morning, my prayer, though, was just to pray for our elders. We have an elder right now that's sick in the community. We have an elder being put away as we speak. So all those things as chiefs we think about, we always keep in mind our elders, our youth. I wanted to, you know, my daughter's birthday today. As chiefs, we're when someone said we do a lot of work, and that's the sacrifice we do. Our children and our community, you know, support us, because we got a tough job. And me as a young chief, I call myself the younger chief, because when I came on board, I like following Chief Adam and Chief Byrne, because they give me strength, because I listen to what they have to say, and then I finish it off with what I need to share with everybody. So these guys have been trailblazers for me. Like I said, just 2 years, but you know, I've learned a lot. Really steep learning curve. I was told I should be a counselor before I became chief, but you know what? It is what it is. I chose the job, and it was, I'm telling you, like that. It was a steep learning curve, 3,000 members. And one of the things I also didn't want to forget to thank our partners, our youth. I want to tell you a story about our youth, why me and Kendrick have such a connection, and Cody. Is right now we got a youth hockey thing going on in Fort Chip. It started off with 4 or 5 kids. We got like 50 kids now showing up to our games. So that was good. And so when we were brought to something like this, I flew in today. I told Carla that I wasn't sure I was going to make it, because we have a chief and council at home. So we have, you know, I had to leave in chief and council. My deputy chief that I had was in Vegas, so I had to pick someone from the group, and it's not always easy to make those decisions, but you have to make them. You just got to keep moving forward, and that's why we're leaders. We gotta show the people that we are. And I think when Vern touched about leadership, we really have to bring that back to the communities, because we've lost respect for our chiefs in a lot of ways. So we have to bring that honor back to our leaders, because like Chief Adam said, you know, that's why when I came in. We weren't part of ATC. We pulled out of some programs, but I came in and I joined back in right away, because I really believe in unity. I'm reading a book right now by Mark Hansford. I'm reading a book by Mark Messer right now, You Can't Win Alone. And that book was given to me by a friend, and I think it was just a message, you know, the Creator works in mysterious ways. And I want to talk about Kendrick, my good friend Kendrick. Work with the Métis. I really appreciate how we've collaborated with the Métis, not just here, but across the region. Kendrick and I go into the hills, we talk at, you know, Monument, and I know you said, seen the last video, we did a little dance. We did it because we're happy to be together. We come from the same place at the end of the day. We got a huge delta. You know, I got Miccosukri. You know, sometimes we're very unique. We're isolated. So the challenge is to get things to our community is a lot different than just driving to Home Depot. So I'll speak a little bit about how this unity really helped us. And I want to go into every topic, but ATC really stepped up to the plate. Thank you. COVID hit. We all got together. Allison, myself, Kendrick, Chief Adam. We just got together and we said we got to talk. So everything we talked about how are we going to check our people before they come to the community? How are we going to do isolation centers? How are we going to work that? ATC worked all those things in the ground. As the chiefs, we lobbied for money so we can look after our people. That's the stuff we talk about by doing things behind the scenes, but it takes the workers like ATC to actually make it happen. Roxanne and I got on the phone so many times, making sure our people were properly looked after. So I want to acknowledge them for that. And, you know, we talk about industry, a big thing we talk about right now is water release. And I think everybody's heard that name. It's called effluent first, but now we call it water release. It's really important to me because my life before this was 35 years of synchrony. And I was very forced to work at tailings. So when we talk about that, believe me, as chiefs, we have treaty rights to look after. So we have that in the forefront before business. We're thinking about our community, our members, that we have to live and have to drink that water. So, you know, just have some faith in us. We're actually doing that. We're doing our due diligence with our GIR teams. But, you know, again, let's get back to the ATC. They're here to help. They're here to make life easier for all of us, for our people, our elders, and our youth. So, you know, like I said, I think I took part of the first time. Thank you all for coming tonight. Really appreciate your involvement here. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you all, and let's have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Powder. Both with Chief Powder and Chief Mel Granjam, I've really enjoyed working with both of them over the last time that they've joined the Athabasca Tribal Council. I know when I first came to the organization, there was debate from those First Nations about whether to be at the table with the Tribal Council. And it's really been through the leadership of the chiefs and the discussion that they've been having at the table that together we are stronger, and that there's a lot of value in the unity of working together. And it has been the constant message that I've heard from all of the chiefs that have allowed our organization to grow, our people to be supported, and there to be unity as opposed to fighting amongst the nations. It's important to know that they all recognize and support the individual sovereignty of our nations, but there is so much value when we need to work together and come together. There's a table for them to have that focus. And so I appreciate the leadership, Chief Powder, that you've brought to the table, and I look forward to working with you moving forward. I'd like to introduce another important person to our team, is Grand Chief Arthur Noski, who is from Loon River First Nation in Alberta here. As a well-respected former chief and known advocate for Indigenous rights, Chief Noski has worked diligently to bring unity as well among the Treaty 8 nations. I would like to welcome Grand Chief Noski to the podium to bring a few words on behalf of Treaty 8.
I have my cell phone and notes. Thank you, Carla. And I guess in this case, Grand Chief doesn't fit. I think it's a Sasquatch hunter. But with that, thank you, Chiefs, and thank you for the invitation, Carla. And it's always been a pleasure to come to this territory, right? I just wanted to acknowledge ACFN and Kendrick for the visit on the IRS stuff. And it kind of takes me way back home, right? where I grew up in an environment uninfluenced by the Indian residential school stuff, and where you're welcome in every home, right? It's an environment where everybody's family, and walking into ACFN territory, just the greetings and the fellowship that was there. Like now I know why it leaves a lasting memory to the visitors. It's so awesome. I had my own new home in there, vehicle at my disposal, and all the food I wanted to eat, traditionally and Western cuisine. But with that, thank you, Chiefs, Chief Powder and Chief Byrne. We go back a long ways. Chief Adam, my family, my children, your buddy's on TV. That's a thing. At this time, I have staff back there, Margot, basically, any organization, you have the staff, right, administratively support. And I wanted to read something here. I stayed at my cousin's place last night, and then I woke up and here there's leadership quotes all on the wall. And my cousin's Martinez, he works for the RCMP here in Fort McMurray. It says leadership is not about making leadership. I'll put these on. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that your impact lasts in your absence. Right? So again, I know it's supposed to be a few words. I'll take the rest of Chief Butcher's time. But I just wanted to say, like I said, I'm unimpacted by the Indian residential school. I know my culture, traditions, and basically, in looking for sponsors and supports for, bringing the people together. That's always been our culture, is bringing the people together. And that is an invite to you as organizations, as companies, to be a part of. We can show you our way of thinking, our humor, and most of all, we can share with you our atrocities. So I wanted to say, prior to the 1930s, all the money that was being generated from the territory, from Treaty 8 territory, from the lands, was going through a trust fund for First Nations people. That's where the $5 came from. So somewhere between 1927 and 1930, because of the province created in 1905, they assumed that they are the title holders of the land without consulting with First Nations people. The promises in their treaty, healthcare and education, well, you hear it on the news today of the Indian residential school stuff. So that is our history. But we, and with such leadership, we can make a difference with their support, with their knowledge, and with their advocacy of, First Nations issues. We can go forward. One thing I like to say is, where we grew up, prior to anybody coming into this land, the value was life, one another. And in First Nations country, that's still the value system. So you might think, well, why do they sit back and, it's because of the value. Relations is more crucial. Because one day you have a heart attack, I say, your material stuff ain't gonna help you. You gotta look to us. No, I'm just kidding. But in saying that, I'm so thankful, just seeing the sponsorship and the cultural activities, the golf tournament. And I encourage you to keep that up. And with that, the industry representatives being here. Now I go to areas where I used to go hunt. Now there's roads in there, and there's a sign there. Private land, you can't hunt. It's wildlife sanctuary now. As industry now, they're being fish and wildlife, so somewhere something has to be be resolved, I guess is what I'm saying. So it's saying that with leadership, I can address those, industry, First Nations, towns, councils. There is a very prime opportunity for us to come to that place, not only to get to know one another, but have a better future for our children. So with that, Margot, thank you for being there, has my support, right? I know Saldorfer support system is here as well with CAO, CFS, Florida Belrose. And with all of you that, do a lot of the groundwork and the heavy lifting for your organizations, thank you. With that,
Thank you, Grand Chief Artanowski. I always enjoy listening to Grand Chief speak. He is a man who speaks with true emotion and passion in his voice, and but always has that edge of humor, which is so important in our communities. And so thank you for making the trip here today and to bringing those greetings on behalf of Treaty 8.
Oh, yeah, and also forgot Jen's number because he takes working.
It's never a dull moment in our days of work. So over the last years, as we've been talking, ATC has been focused on building strong connections that include partnerships with municipal, provincial, and federal governments, and maintaining strong relationships with each of them. Mayor Bowman has sent his regrets today that he couldn't be here as he's out of town, but we're thrilled to have Deputy Mayor Jane Stroud with us. Now, if there was ever anyone known as an ally for our rural and our Indigenous communities, Jane Stroud has certainly worked to earn that reputation. She's been an advocate for our communities and a constant presence of support, a friend, and an advocate, and we're glad to have her here today to bring greetings on behalf of the Regional Municipality of Buffalo. Thank you, Carl.
Good afternoon, Grand Chief Noski, Chief Powder, Chief Kircher, Chief John Day, and ATC President, Chief Alan Adams. Elders and members, CEO Carla Buffalo, and ATC staff, and to everyone here today for the annual general meeting. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge my fellow councillor, Kendrick Cardinal, who is also the president of Fort Chipewyan Métis Nation. Thank you, Kendrick. So I'm honored and delighted to bring greetings today on behalf of Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for inviting the municipality here for today's meeting. Today's theme is igniting growth and partnership. While we know there's more work to be done, I want you to know I feel you have a partner in Mayor and Council and the municipality. Athabasca Tribal Council plays such an important leadership role in our region for many reasons. So we are very pleased to have this chance to be alongside you this afternoon. I'd like to express regrets on behalf of Mayor Bowman, who really want to be here today. Mayor Bowman is representing the region at a meeting of Alberta mayors. He wishes you all the best and hopes you all have a great day. At this time, I'd also like to recognize that we're in Treaty 8 territory and on the traditional lands of the Cree, Dene, and Métis people. I feel it's important the municipality always does what it can to acknowledge Indigenous peoples, the history, and your contributions to this region. Again, thank you for the invitation, and I wish all the best for ATC in this important year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We have also invited a Member of Parliament to Fort McMurray Cold Lake, Leila Goodrich, to join us today. However, she was unable to attend in person, but kindly sent this video.
Hi, I'm Layla Goodridge. I'm your Member of Parliament for Fort McMurray Cold Lake. I want to start off by acknowledging that you guys are celebrating today and joining from Treaty 8 territory, the land of the Cree, the Dene, and the land that is deeply important to Métis people. And I'm joining you from Ottawa because unfortunately I can't be there with you in person as you guys come together after 2 long years apart for this annual general meeting. I know that the Athabasca Tribal Council does so much amazing work for our community, and you'll continue to do so. So I just wish you all of the best, and I can't wait to see you in person.
Now, throughout the pandemic, ATC's health department worked with communities to coordinate a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Early on, there were weekly multi-stakeholder meetings to share information about the pandemic, how communities can access funding, and secure medical supplies to protect community members. The ATC Board of Directors asked our organization to help find a solution for communities to safely isolate. Led by Roxanne Steckless, in collaboration with our regional First Nations administration and health centers, ATC was one of the first Indigenous organizations to operate an isolation care center. To capture the importance of the pandemic supports provided by our team, we created this video to share our story.
In March 2020, a global pandemic put the world on lockdown. The Athabasca Tribal Council and the nations they represent started emergency planning to keep their communities protected.
The last pandemic that hit in 1918, the majority of our elders had passed away. And when I talked to my granny, she was 18 years old at the time, and she's seen everything. It made it a lot easier to plan everything out because the foresight that was given to me already.
None of us knew anything about COVID-19 a year ago, and I remember all the information coming in through the news and starting to meet with the chiefs, which is our board of directors, as well as our management and staff.
We looked at the housing issues and the overcrowding, and if someone was to contract one of these viruses, it would spread throughout the whole household, and even ones with the underlying conditions would get it.
Within a month, an isolation care facility was in operation in Fort McMurray.
We like to say we were building the plane as we were flying it, because that's what it felt like. So there was a lot of moving parts that we had to figure out, how are we going to feed everybody? How are we going to take care of laundry? How are we going to get cleaning done?
And we were able to find a facility, a contractor, get the support of communities, and get everything in place to open up, I think, really one of the first isolation facilities in the country, particularly for First Nations.
We add some key factors that we wanted to have in place, such as the ability for people to isolate by themselves in their own space or with their own family members. Finding a hotel with individual rooms looked to be the best solution for us.
It was a matter of 2 weeks that we had to get our entire setup within the facility. It was 12, 16-hour days of planning, ensuring that, we're meeting all the clients' requests as part of the facility.
A few weeks later, a second facility was opened in Fort Chipewyan.
And the reason why it was important to have one up in Fort Chip was because Fort Chip was an isolated community. We are situated where there's, some homes have 8 people living inside there, and we couldn't take that chance.
We really had to think about it from a family and a community perspective. And so at times, our families are of mixed units. And so we could have, First Nation members, we might have Métis, we might have non-Indigenous. And the importance was to support the family.
After only days in operation, the Fort McMurray facility was threatened by flood when an ice jam caused the Athabasca River to overflow its banks.
we were only in the first facility for a week, and the flood happened.
And so we really had to quickly pivot and find a new location, get reset up, so that we were at the height of when COVID was kind of rolling out, always prepared to take in clients.
The care team developed a plan for the optimal health, comfort, and safety of clients coming into the centers.
A lot of First Nation people do come with a lot of history behind them, you know, especially when you're leaving your home and coming into what's called an isolation care center. It can be kind of scary. So we wanted to ensure that it didn't have that stigma attached to it. You know, we wanted to create awareness that we're here for you. We're here for the 5 First Nations and the Métis groups.
One of the things that we did right in the beginning is we put together what we call wellness bags of different activities and things that that could keep people occupied while they're in the facility. If they need to see a mental health provider, we can arrange for them to speak to somebody. We had to make sure that the food we were providing was food that people really liked.
And we provide them with healthy meals that are pre-planned, whatever that their needs are. We have a canteen session here, you know, and using great technology like Skip the Dishes.
The cost to the client is absolutely nothing. It's all covered by Indigenous Services Canada and First Nation Inuit Health Branch.
The care facilities went beyond expectations by housing community members in their time of need and ultimately saving lives.
So, you know, it saves a lot of lives. It protects everybody.
I'm just really moved and I'm proud because I believe through all of those actions of everyone that's been involved at a community level, leadership level, ATC staff, ultimately it's saved lives. I'm chuckling watching the film because my son is one of the boys in there, and he would feel like his acting career has started today. Just as a side comment, we are continuing to still operate an isolation care center under the direction of the chiefs. Although we feel that we're moving through the waves of the pandemic, they have committed to continuing to ensure those supports are in place. And so this service is still being offered to our communities in the region. As I mentioned, I am really proud of the work that's being done in each First Nation alongside our Métis neighbors, because through working together, I really do believe that lives have been saved and communities were able to work through each wave of the pandemic and come out stronger together. Now, one of the most effective ways to combat COVID-19 was to offer vaccinations at a community level. 915 COVID-19 vaccinations were administered to over 4 ATC vaccination clinics. All of this was accomplished while continuing to operate our normal operations by providing medical transportation support, emergency response plan development, and having our Indigenous liaison working remotely to support clients at the Northern Lights Regional Hospital. Beyond the pandemic, the ATC Health Department provided training in a number of areas, including sessions on FASD, prenatal support classes, and something very close to my heart was to bring Indigenous doula training to our region. In 2021, Education, Culture, and Language Department, led by Elena Gould, continued to ensure community youth, community members, schools, and organizations are supported through access to quality lifelong education while maintaining connection to Cree and Dene cultures and languages. Land-based learning is at the heart of revitalizing our traditional practices, and we have been working to have land-based learning integrated into urban and rural schools. Last June, ATC and its partners hosted a traditional camp at J. Howard Pugh Park in Fort McMurray that saw over 240 students participate in these cultural experiences. In November, ATC hosted students from Holy Trinity, Father Patrick Murphy High School at the Moose Hide Camp. The students learned how to flesh a moose hide with tools, play traditional games, and smudge using the 4 sacred medicines with the guidance of local elders and knowledge keepers. ATC also hosted sessions teaching drum making, sewing traditional ribbon skirts, and offering Cree and Dene language apps. ATC's sport and recreation team has been focused on supporting families to stay active through the pandemic. Last summer, ATC hosted the first junior golf camp at Mikisew Golf Club, which provided opportunities for Indigenous youth across the region to learn the game of golf. The ATC Board of Directors believe that sport provides a foundation for unity in our communities. It has been through their vision that we have been increasing access to sport camps. In the fall, ATC organized multiple youth hockey camps in the region, which was an overwhelming success. We were also excited to introduce new twists on traditional activities in the pandemic, including a very successful powwow Zumba class series offered virtually. The post-secondary education student support program saw 57 students attend universities and colleges across Canada this year. ATC staff worked diligently through the COVID-19 pandemic to support students, ensure that they had the technology and the wellness supports to achieve success. We have also continued to offer our high school boarding home program. Again, my heart is full of pride at the determination of our students to work through all of those challenges of the pandemic, but maintain the path of achieving their academic success, whether it was at high school, college, or university. I am proud of each student and all that they have achieved. I believe we've got a video.
COVID happened. I was just upgrading to get into, which I paid for myself to be able to get covered by ATC, and COVID happened, and then I was getting into school. So the bursary itself, the financial end of things, essentially made it so I was able to continue to operate my business even at a small loss while going to school. And I feel like that's a very unique opportunity that few would be able to say that they did.
You know, it's a 3-year commitment, and so not going to be able to work very much, and you know, it's the tuition is not cheap. So I was at ATC by some family members, and they stepped in, and you know, they were there while I was applying for law school, and they've been able to support me big time throughout this whole process.
So ATC has been amazing. With the bursary, they cover my tuition, which obviously is pretty expensive. And with ATC, they cover that. So, and they also give an allowance. So that's for rent, for living, and everything.
So the ATC, I started receiving sponsorship from them in my second year, which was wonderful. I mean, I still remember when I got the call that I'd been accepted. It's funding I didn't have access to before I was treaty. Actually, I shouldn't say that because I don't know. It took a long time to be able to get my treaty status. And once I was able to prove that I had ancestry to the community, then like it became a lot easier.
It's basically like a funding program where they sponsor you to attend school. So essentially they pay for your tuition, book costs, and they give you a monthly living allowance as well as a travel allowance once a semester. So it covers essentially everything in terms of, you know, attending school, and that's been really, really helpful.
I love the honesty of students when they're going through it. Chief Adam wanted me to make sure that I mention I'm sure that we'll get lots of questions afterwards about how the post-secondary education program works. And so ATC receives funding through Indigenous Services Canada. And originally, there was an approach of first come, first serve for students that were applying for support through that program. Over the years, we've been listening to the needs of the communities, and we've changed our approach. And so we split up the different funding that was available so that the nations had a decision whether the funding would be administered at ATC or whether there would be sub-agreements where the nations would be managing that funding directly. And so we do provide funding support directly at ATC for Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation and Chipewyan Prairie First Nation. The communities of Fort McKay First Nation and Fort McMurray First Nation 468 do receive funding from ATC, but we delegate that and move it directly to the First Nation to be able to administer at a community level. For Mikisew First Nation, they do administer their funding independently of ATC, and so if there's any questions or you need further clarification, you're happy to call ATC, talk to Elena Gould, Charles Nakaho, who's very well known in the region, and we'd be happy to help you out. So over the years, we've continued to see a significant increase in students wanting to pursue college and university education. And it is with this need in mind that there is much work to do to advocate for increased funding to ensure all students receive the supports they need while attending school. This year was an important year for advocacy at ATC. As our country took steps to understand the role in truth and reconciliation, our organization has been increasing our advocacy efforts to ensure our region's voice is at the table. ATC proudly advocates all levels of government to ensure that our Indigenous issues are heard and addressed. There have been many moments this past year when our chiefs have stepped up on this advocacy front. ATC has encouraged people across the Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo region to start having conversations with family, friends, co-workers about missing, murdered, and exploited Indigenous people through multiple platforms. I remember getting a call from Chief Powder, and I believe Kendrick was in the vehicle as well, who wanted to really bring increased awareness about missing, murdered, and exploited Indigenous people. And as a result, working in partnership with multiple stakeholders, we worked collaboratively to bring a message of awareness to our communities. I'd like to share a video that was created under this direction called No One Left Behind.
Non-Indigenous Canadians must take a hard look at their relationship with Indigenous people and stop racism in every context. For Indigenous people, we must unite ourselves for our lives, our communities, and for Canada itself.
We need grassroots advocates from all levels of government, from bottom to top, to tell our story, but to tell the truth for all Canadians to hear. And at the end of the day, that is what really matters, the truth for all Canadians.
These women and girls are loved beyond measure. They are our cookums, our mothers, our aunties, our daughters, our nieces, our cousins. They are our sisters. We ask that you stand with us to protect and honor them.
All our relations, let us pray for balance. This is an emotional time for all of us. Let this fuel our inner fire. As we shine light on this national issue, we support one another to make change on a national front.
At a time when so many of us have been forced apart, it is time for us to unite. My question is, why have so many women perished? What is the root cause?
Please join our call and fan the flames on this issue. The Creator gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We are asking you to join us today and echo our voices. for the missing and murdered Indigenous woman, girls, and two-spirited people.
The time to end systemic racism towards Indigenous people is long overdue. Women are matriarchs of our society and deserve honor. Knowledge is power. Arm yourself by taking Indigenous awareness training to increase your empathy and understanding.
This video and on the advocacy efforts of stakeholders across this region to bring light to such an important issue that affects so many of our communities and our families today. I'd like to give a special thank you to Chief Mel Granjam, who has been supporting Stephanie Harp, who is now a leading national voice for missing, murdered, and exploited Indigenous people. And in the most recent months, we've heard Stephanie travel to Fort McMurray, and there's been many walks, there's been many rallies as our families continue to be hurt and wait for our loved ones who have not made it home to return safely someday. I think maybe before we continue in the program, I wouldn't mind, Chief Adam, if we take a short 5-minute break. I really would ask that people don't leave. There's so much great news and others that I'd like to share with you before we wrap up for the program, but if we could just take a 5-minute break. Great, thank you. Yeah, Chief Ron wanted to have a smoke. That's what he did wrong to tell you.
Just be upstairs.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to do 3 draws. So if you had put your name down and you put your piece of paper in a little bowl over here beside Carla there, she's going to pick a draw here today. The first draw is a trip to Las Vegas. I think it's Cindy Armisen? What's in the bag? Miss Jane Stroke. Bill Loaded. Abercrombie, did I say? Close? Huh? Trappers Association. Well, welcome back, everyone, and we'll carry on with the program. Carla's taking a break, so she asked me to help her, go along with the program and everything. So we'll go along with the program and carry on. And when we talked about residential school and talk about what happened in Kamloops when they found the 215 unmarked graves, ATC went along and we raised a concern about that, and we talked with Treaty 8 on that matter, and we've conducted our own ground penetration search. So that's going to be going on this summer in Fort Chipewyan, Alberta, because Fort Chipewyan was known to have one of the residential schools there as well, and 5 First Nations in the region were affected by the residential school there. So this summer there will be ground penetrating work while the Pope made his announcement to visit Lake St. Anne. At that point in time, we will be conducting searches at their community as well too. So my heart goes out to all the survivors. I myself is a survivor of the residential school, and when this whole topic came up, I couldn't understand why I was so angry. I was angry at my chief and at the council tables. I was frustrated with everybody, and all this time, the whole remnants of coming back, and it was making me frustrated. That was the important part. But quickly, I recognized it, and I addressed it with my team. That every time we talked about residential school, I would get mad, and so now my team says that when we talk about residential school, don't bring it up in front of Chief Adam. Don't throw it upon him. Make sure that he's aware of it. But slowly, I'm getting over it and carrying it back on again. So, on slide 45, is that you? ATC's joined with Native Friendship Center and what we do, and with the trading post and everything, Métis with Buffalo. So. That side there? Oh, that's it? I thought it was continuous. So now I know what happens when you give a program to somebody who's not first, but a good thing I'll have some good speaking ability. To gather in speeches on the sky. Is that what the word?
Just ignore the green, Chief.
Huh?
Ignore anything in green.
Don't worry about the green stuff? Yeah. Okay, the gathering was broadcast live, when we had the snag, when we had the cultural event down at the snag, it was all live streamed and everything. It was a great success, and I listened to the words of many people that were there, and I always keep this in mind that, I always want to remember late Mike Cardinal, because when the cultural event was over, I was sitting there with late Mike Cardinal at the time, Doug Golowski, Dave Tuckrow, and we were talking about the success, about what the event was going to be like, and they said that this was going to be a continuous event. It's not going to stop. So, I I always take that to mind that on behalf of, late Mike Cardinal, we want to keep this thing going and keep it alive and well, because he was a big supporter of all kind of community events that are happening here in the region of Wood Buffalo. So, with that, we lost a good man, but he'll always be remembered in our hearts. On July 1st last year, 2021, Chief Vern Janvey started to walk from his community. He had a vision in regards to what it is that we need to get done and to help support in regards to walking around and helping bring awareness about the survivors, because he didn't know the impacts about what had happened in the residential school, and he had to go out and walk, and he walked from Janvey to Fort McMurray down to the Snai on the 7th day. We, the chiefs, joined him hand in hand, walking alongside of him. And further to that, he commenced his walk to Ottawa, and he brought awareness over there. But because of COVID hit and everything and stuff like that, there were a lot of strict guidelines that we have to make sure that the message was delivered, and we supported him on that issue. You can see the pictures of the walk here, the ceremony and everything. So it's very important that when we talk about the impacts of our residential schools in our community. On July 7th, over 350 Indigenous members and non-Indigenous members supported the backgrounds and joined the walk in solidarity with Chief Janvey, because we knew how important it was, and it was a moment that when people come together, they knew about the impacts, about what has been going on here. Chief Noski, the Grand Chief, walking with us, and from Treaty 8, he was part of our delegation joining with Chief Janvey on that matter. So, that's what it's all about, community coming together. At the end of the walk, to the Snag Park, over 1,000 people united, and memorials gathered in solidarity to listen, to learn from the residential school survivors. It's some of you probably heard that for the first time of the atrocities that have happened. I myself don't even mention it to my kids, but I protect my kids from what had happened to me in those areas. But at the end of the day, we all have to explain to our kids what happened to us in the past, and because it's. I was told by an elder it's going to take 3 generations for a residential school to go away from people that are survivors there. So my daughter's second generation, my grandkids are she's first, second, and my great grandchildren will be the 3rd generation that will feel the last effects of what happened to me at residential school. So with that, we continue on going down the Orange Path. And the Orange Path gives us recognition in regards to bringing awareness about what has happened to our people and moving forward in that regard. And that was what Chief Vern did. He walked to Ottawa, and this was his Orange Path, walking to Ottawa and raising awareness. And he did raise a lot of eyebrows out there. He did take notice, and Minister Miller did meet him out there as well too. So he did not walk for nothing. And the Orange Path provides resources to help people learn from the methods that best suits them, from books, audiobooks, films, podcasts, and more. The collective resource continue to grow. In the Orange Path, although it was difficult for many to learn for the first time or to rehear of trauma experiences endured at the residential school, I was reminded of the strength of our people who continue to rise and to stand strong, and that the policy of taking the Indian out of a child was not successful. Each time I see a member of our community drum, sing, dance, and speak Cree or Dene, I am proud of the community members who attend residential school and are today bringing these traditions back to life. It is a beautiful day to be an Indigenous people, and we thank them for their strength. Employment and training. This is where Alina comes in. No? May Britt. We all share the responsibilities about unemployment and training. The goal of ATC's unemployment and training is to make sure that all our members are trained properly and fit to go to work because of the shortage of demand here in Fort McMurray. We're short labor, and The one thing that we have to look to is look towards the Native people, because we have young, vibrant entrepreneurs that are coming out of school, and we want to capture that energy. And we need our partners to capture that energy with us and give them all the training that's needed, necessary to become a better member of society here in this region, and not, pinpoint the natives of being nothing but drunks or nuisance to the public. Here we have perfect opportunity of bringing our young people out of schools, because there's never been a higher numbers of graduates coming out of ATC than it has done in many years to come. So congratulations. When I look at that and I say, last year alone, Fort Chip, 144 graduates that come out of there in 1 year, that's astonishing numbers. So the success is, far more speaks for itself than anything else. So with that, it's really good. Security guard training, drivers training courses that we had, going up there, post-secondary programs. We did a lot of things to do everything and, to make life easier. And that's what it's all about when you're looking at programs. It's not about taking a program and spending it on yourself. It's about others out there. So that's what we do. We do haul trucks, the program for hauling, big haul trucks program that we got going out there. But that's what it's all about. We look at the region and what the region needs to be successful. And everybody around is successful because of what we do. And, we continue to bring programs throughout ATC to ensure workforce and support. We have job fairs all over the place that we're attending. ACFM is attending a bunch of job fairs. ATC is making job fairs and everything. So we're making people aware that we have the capacity to do what we want to do. And, I look at it from this point of view, from the leadership perspective of, from back home. When we look at how much intake that we have, intake means people that are on social services. When we look at our numbers of 14 members that we're helping, and believe me, some of them have medical conditions. So the numbers are very small in that population, and it probably stems throughout the whole ATC region. So you could tell the success that we're having because there are very minimal people that are using the social service programs that are out there for them. So I want to commend all the hard work from the people that are out there with the training staff and everything to, make this thing a success. Child and Family Services Department, you've done an amazing job in that regard of making sure that our kids are protected and going out to call when needed and everything and stuff like that, because we are here for our children, and every child matters, and we're not allowing our children to be taken up by society, and we're onto it, and we know for a fact where our kids are, and we're tracking them. So it's a big thing, and Baby in Arms, it's another thing, a history about Child and Family Services, about removing kids from the system and putting them into family homes, because today's residential school is Child and Family Services. Let's just don't kid ourselves about that. It's true reality. Everybody knows it. Kids are being stolen every day and taken away. And if we don't come up with the laws about Child and Family Services, they will continue to do it today. And we as leaders, we're onto it, and we're catching up. And once we get there, there's no turning back for us on that matter. And dads hugging kids and making changes and stuff like that. And one of the things that you understand that when you're a survivor of residential school, you always have the ability of not learning how to love and expressing that to your kids. And that's why we always say hug your kids and tell your kids that you love them. And I tell you right now, from my bottom of my heart, a lot of parents out there that went to residential school don't know how to express the love for their kids. It took me till I was 45 to understand and to tell my kids that I love them so much, because of what happened to me at residential school. So always love your kids and remind them of how much you love them, and my mother always told me this, and she said it straight out to me. My boy loved mom all the time because when mom goes, there's not going to be another mom to replace her. So with that, have respect for your mother and keep her to your heart because my mom is gone and I can't tell my mom I love her anymore, but she has that love for me still. Family walk, take your family out for walks. Go around, do stuff for them. Build that relationship with your family because a lot of kids right now are stuck at home playing games and not going anywhere and stuff like that because of COVID and everything. And we need to get out there and start expressing ourselves and everything. And that's why we have kinship programs and helping young kids all over the place. Chief Powder expressed the fact that we have hockey night in Fort Chip. Edmonton's going to be playing tonight. I imagine it's going to be packed again to the brim, and everybody's going to be cheering. And I want to say this to all you Calgary fans out there. When we're done with you, we want you to come and join the bandwagon. because if you beat us, I'm going to be joining your bandwagon too. So, it's all fun and play and everything, and that's what it's all about, bringing kids together and making them aware that we do care about them and that we do love them. And this is what it's all about. Look at all the people that come here today. You show the support of what we're doing, and we're very proud of that, And kids in the forest, bringing programs of them going out there and living and learning how to harvest, learning how to clean stuff and cook it, actually learn how to cook, and if that's not a prime example about what you learn in the bush, I'm the only cook in the house. My wife won't let anybody else cook in there, but she says you have to cook because, and I learned all this from what we were taught out in the bush from my mother. As COVID restrictions lighten, we look forward to working more together in collaboration, and don't drink water that's sit on the table because I drink Carla's water. But she says she's okay. But we'll, keep in mind that COVID's still out there. You never know what could happen. I've lost 3 first cousins. We just buried one last Friday. He went to Vancouver to go see his brother who had COVID, and he passed away. He went back to PA, ended up catching COVID, and he passed away as well too. So, if you think that I'm not being affected by it, I am. I lost family members as well, and we're continuing to lose family members as we speak. So keep in mind that COVID is still out there, and that remind. Family, what is that? Better put my glasses on. Silhouette, right? Huh? Silhouette? Family silhouette. It is for our last update of Department of ATC currently to delegate First Nations agencies, which governs under provincial and the territorial government. But, when it comes to matters of family and everything and stuff like that, we look to other resources to make sure that we are successful what we deliver. And that's what it's all about, making sure that we deliver the right programs for the right people in that matter. And we don't discriminate against anybody, regardless of who you are, what conditions you have. We are there to help, and that's the one thing, important thing that we take into consideration. Operations of finance and stuff like that. I'm very proud of ATC because ATC runs a surplus budget, and we don't have deficits whatsoever. Everything is run properly. And I also want to say that about Treaty 8 too, because Treaty 8 also runs a deficit-free budget. And I'm so happy of that because ACFN does the same. And you got to remember, I was the Grand Chief of Treaty 8, and I'm the President of ATC, and still the Chief of ACFN, and we have a surplus just about every year. So good governance is it goes to show that we are passionate about our thing, and the finances overwhelm, and like you say, everything helps and stuff like that. The charts of primary funding for Indigenous Service Canada, we continue building our legacy to that matter, to provide the help that where it's needed through our membership and everybody. And like I said, it's really, really heartwarming to see our people grow. And, President Cardinal, you know for a fact that when we speak on matters about the Métis and Fort Chip, that we are very concerned that, we want to help you build your nation and your people to stand alongside it with you. And we're all here to support each other. And likewise with ATC, we do the same as well. Upcoming events, we have a lot of events coming up. We have the ATC golf tournament. We brought that up, and I remember 2 years ago when we had our first golf tournament, all we had was giving out hats to everybody that was there, and people are just looking at me and they say, how important it is to have these events, and you'll come there and you get mugs, you get all these gifts and everything. Well, I said, you have to donate that stuff. So we're asking for donations too for ATC for the golf tournament, and it's just about full in here to the max and everything, so more teams are required. We have what you call the Chiefs Cup, where 5 First Nations, we have a team that represents our nation. And last year, Chief Mal was very successful, and he's polishing up that cup. He says he's not going to give it back to us. They say they have a superior team, but we're bringing home the cup this year. And likewise 4 Oilers, 4 for the Flames. I made that commitment that they're going to bring home the cup, and I'm going to stand by them. And so, the Golf Classic is there to support and it's bring people together, and that's what it's all about, bringing people together to help support what ATC is doing. Imperial, I want to thank, Imperial again for the sponsorship for, the cultural event, and I also want to thank CNRL for the community lunch that you're sponsoring. Thank you for that, Adele. I know you take into consideration that when it comes to working with communities, you know how important it is, because you and I, we go back a long way from negotiating at the table of what ACFN wanted and what CNRL wanted. Unfortunately, ACFN got what we wanted. But it was all through commitment and working together. And thanks a lot, Adele, for showing your support again for the community events. And it's all good to go. But I think we got a big for the cultural event that we've been talking about so highly.
Look around here. You see people from every corner of the world. Every corner. We come here to make a living, feed our kids. It's with that spirit we had this gathering here. This land right here is where we've gathered for a long, long time. The reason that we gathered, more than for the celebration itself, is it's a call to Creator to help us. This land is, in a state of fighting the environment, the caribou, or the human. That's why we're here, so we can pray. The spiritual part of all this is who we are, and it's we have to come back to there to learn how to treat one another and love one another, make our lives sustainable for a long, long time. All of us. That's what it's all about. I see the spirit in the people, and I see the happiness, and I see all the different nations gathered here. We all share, just like we share in the land.
What a beautiful event this is going to be, and one of the things that we look forward to this whole regional gathering and why it came about was because 10 years ago, we started a regional gathering here in ATC, and we started going out to our communities. What we realized was that not everybody from every community was represented in all the small communities we went to. So a few years ago, I started thinking about maybe it's time to bring the cultural activity here to Fort McMurray. Back in 2017, we had a teepee from ATC up, and at the teepee, we had smudges. And what we realized was that we had over 300 guests coming in there, and majority of them were not First Nations people. So that comes to tell us that this was ready and this was needed for the people here in Fort McMurray, because we are Aboriginal people. You know, we are the Cree, the Dene, and the Métis. This is our home, but it is also your home, and we all ought to understand what it is that we bring here.
I'd like to send a shout out to the chiefs of the Athabasca Tribal Council. It's been really their vision that has brought us here today, and I really hope that this is the first of many years of coming together and celebrating on these lands that we are looking forward to.
Of Indigenous people to show and express their cultural through singing and stuff like that, and it's going to be a good event. We want to make sure that it's always stick to cultural because of who we are, and it's meant to express that. And maybe this year, you know, because of doing things differently, I've reached out to Carla about the cultural event this year, and I talked to, I think, Alina about that. And what's going on in Ukraine, you know, with the war that's happening there and everything. I would like, you know, because we do have some First Nation Ukrainian people that are out there, and, you know, it would be good to, because it's a cultural event, to invite the people from the Ukrainian society and to come and have it, you know, display their, and have a dance on that behalf, because we're here to support and that matters. So with that in mind, you know, don't forget them as well. Everything is working good. Like I said, you know, Bushy Contracting, I want to thank you all for the continued support of what you're doing for us. We'd like to take the time today to honor and give thanks to some of our partners over the past year to help grow, you know, and I think that was the slide that was on there before, right? So we'll continue on. And this one here is slide 80 now, RMWB. I'm all over the place here. But you know what? I work really well with RMWB, and it goes to show that over the years, coming together and not truly understanding what it would look like, I think we finally got it gripped right on the dot that we are a community and we're here to help each other. Your success is our success. So I want to thank you for showing your support. You know, Mayor Scout, I was going to say. But it's good, and you know, I always want to, like I said, I give my gratitude to Mayor and Council for the support you've given us for $150,000 for the cultural event. Thank you. With that, I guess we have a gift for you. So we'll give you a gift. This one. This one. So on behalf of the Athabasca Tribal Council, this is for the Mayor and Council. We're gonna get the chiefs come up here and get a picture done with Jane.
I'm going to steal a mic for a minute here for RMBWV. I just wanted to share a little. Our regional amounts of municipality went Buffalo this winter and last winter. We're isolated and we had to bring almost 22 homes to Fort Chip, ready to move in homes because housing was a big issue in our community. So we collaborated with RMBWV, not only with COVID, but to have the road ready for us to get home. And it's usually just have that one little window of 1 month. And we worked with Sandy Bowman, we worked with Dennis Fraser, and we successfully got the homes home. So just think about that, what the impact it had in our community. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm going to be voting on the side. Very smile. All right, great. You're going to want to stick around. There's a couple more presentations.
I also want to give recognition in regards to some of the things that are out there, when it comes to COVID and everything. Roxanne, you've done exceptionally well in that regard, to help save lives. That's what we've done. And I'm very honored, that you helped us along and you built a team around you that was very successful. And in your team, you helped bring Medica North, who is an ACFN member. And, you've helped a long ways. And I know at times when people get COVID and stuff like that, not knowing what's going to happen, the outcome, and even the Métis people, when they caught it, they phoned me up and asked for where could we go for isolation and pointed them out in that direction. My heart's go out to both of you. Like, I'm so emotional on this matter because, lives matter to me. And thank you for what you've done for our people. And you'll always be in my heart and be part of it. And it's just making sure that everybody, I'm so emotional. But it's good. It's not bad. It's a good thing. So don't take it for the wrong and everything. It's happy tears. But in all, we pulled through. We are here today. We're still going to be here tomorrow. Stay safe out there, and make sure that we try not to get sick. And if you're double vaccinated, get double vaccinated. I was told today that if you fly up to Fort Chip, you can't jump on a plane without no vaccination card. So be mindful of that. But people from Fort Chip could fly out. They can't fly back in if you're not double vaccinated. So I have to deal with that issue. We'll have to talk more about that, Chief Powder, on that issue. When it comes to AHS, other thing. Okay. Yeah, and I'll get Robin to come up here, but I want to let you guys know that the hard work that we've done. ATC, along with Medica North, was the first medical establishment set up in Canada by an Aboriginal entity. So without further ado, I want to bring up Robin, who I'm very proud of, and she is an ACFN member, so without further ado, Robin.
All right. Can you hear me? I just wanted to say that I'm very honored to be here, and thank you for the invitation. My name's Robin Villebrin, and I'm an Athabasca Chippewa First Nation member. Over the past 17 years of in my career being a registered nurse, I've become very passionate in Indigenous health. So when the ATC projects came to Medica North, I was really excited about them. Our goal was to ensure inclusiveness of Indigenous health in all aspects. We wanted to take it on in a holistic manner. We wanted to create a framework that was, much like the medicine wheel. And we wanted to ensure overall at the end of the day that our clients were basically valued, they were heard, and they felt safe. So our holistic approach to Indigenous health was so essential because what it did was it aimed at addressing and leading cause of an illness rather than just treating the symptom. We wanted to look at the person as a whole being, basically. But what I'd like to do is I really want to acknowledge the entire team at ATC, including the leadership and the board, for creating such a valuable organization and our people, that supports our people and advocates for the importance of Indigenous health. So from the bottom of my heart to the entire team, from the entire team at Medica North to the ATC, I'd like to present you with a gift as well. So everybody's emotional here today. This gift is symbolic of all the lives that we work together in collaboration and basically saving lives seems to be the common theme. So every ribbon on this skirt is from Medica North to ATC.
Don't walk away. We got a gift for you as well.
Thank you, Robin. This is from the ATC and offer you for all your help. Like, you've actually changed a lot of lives, and you actually made a believer of us that we can look after on health. And thank you for that.
Everybody smile at me. Thank you. Amazing. Thank you.
I want to recognize the Alberta Health Services for North and the Northern Lights Foundation. We continue to support each other and bring in life and health matters. I want to thank Cindy and Jordana. Okay. Before we conclude our formal program, I just want to recognize the unbelievable work that ATC team, who represents, or yeah, all right. Well, we'll do that after. But right now, can we get Cindy and Jordan to come up, or Jordana, come up here? They got their speaking notes, so I'm going to stop right here. So with that, I'll call it by order. I think it says Cindy first. Okay, now you see how they dictate now. They tell me, they always tell chiefs what to do. Okay, Jordana.
Now let's be clear, I was good with Cindy going first, so I didn't have a problem with that. Yeah, so you did really well on my name. So yes, I'm Jordana Lambert. I'm the Senior Operating Officer for the Wood Buffalo area with Alberta Health Services. And it's an honor to be here today. I'm going to say some words, you probably won't remember them, but what I think I want you to walk away and remember is that I am committed to doing better together. And so, and I know my team, and some of them are in the audience today, is in the same mindset as I am. So we want to do better. So over the last year with Carla, with Roxanne, we've worked really hard to have a better partnership with the goal to improve the care we provide safe, respectful environments, and redefine relationships within the healthcare system. This year with ATC, we entered a memorandum of understanding to formalize our partnership with the commitment to foster culturally safe and inclusive healthcare for Indigenous people in the region. We also plan to design and implement an Indigenous health clinic at Fort McMurray in the Northern Lights Health Region. Clinic services in the space and the design of the space will be determined following community engagement. More information about these engagement opportunities will be shared with the community once engagement planning is finalized. Together, we will work with the Northern Lights Health Foundation to secure funding partners to support the engagement conversations and the clinic instruction. We anticipate the Indigenous Health Clinic will be located on the former long-term care floor at the Northern Lights Health Regional Hospital. The space is currently vacant. And just to kind of reiterate, I am committed to doing better together and develop our partnerships to improve the overall health of our community.
Now comes the hustler part, which is where I meet Chief. So you all know the Health Foundation. You know us for our events, especially. But maybe what you don't know is what's behind the events, and what's behind it is a deep impact that we help to make in healthcare. So we've had the luck to present to this council with Roxanne and with Carla and with Jordana to talk about how would you build an Indigenous health center. And we started with the end goal in mind, a health center, and we realized we had to back it up. And it's a project now of consultation and going out to community and finding out what are the gaps and what is really needed before a building is built. So that's what the Health Foundation's been asked to fund. Over the next 3 years, we are looking at putting forward about $500,000 to secure people and project managers to look at what's going on in the community, where things are going to be needed. And that's what our friends with AHS will be running. So you won't see me much, but you hear me because I will be out advocating for funding, asking my friends to join me in hustle, and no Sasquatches here. Yeah, and that's our expectation that at the end we will see an Indigenous health center that you have all built, and that's the important part for all of us. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Think we have some presentations for them? I think we're just about, you know, and you could tell that things are coming to a close because the podium is getting closer to the door. I don't know if it was set up that way, but it worked out to be that in that regard. But you know, with all these things and everything, and you know, as the president of ATC, it's an honor to work with the chiefs and everything. You know, Chief Byrne, I've been at the table with you now, how long? 19 years, I think, 18 years plus.
Pull that black hair when it's out.
Yeah. Chief Noski, you know, ironically, you know, when Chief Noski and I first met, he was Grand Chief of Treaty 8, I think, at that time. But he was the chief back home, too. And my first official meeting as a chief, I made it known that ACFN is not going to take a back step to anybody anymore, and that we're going to be out there at the forefront about treaty. And then I kept talking about how important the treaty was, and that the Treaty 8, the contents of Treaty 8, the majority of all the written contents came from Fort Chip. You know, so that's how important Fort Chip is when it comes to Treaty 8, because our chief at the time, Chief Alexander Levelet, was a Frenchman, and he spoke English, and he knew how to negotiate. And Grand Chief took that, and I don't believe you, he said that. I said, well, go read it up, and you'll find out. And a year later, he comes back, and he's sitting beside me, and said, you are right. But the treaty, the contents of the treaty in regards to Treaty Number 8, the majority of what was said at the treaty came from Fort Chip. And Chief Alexander, who was the chief of Athabasca Chippewa First Nation, was very elegant in moving his position forward. And look at the outcome of Treaty 8 today, of his vision. And we have a direct descendant, Timmy Flett, one of my council members, who is a direct descendant from Chief Alexander Levelet. You know? So we are still here, and we're here to help, support. And with that, you know, I want to bring Carla back up because she has some more things before I give my closing remarks and everything. But Carla, come up here and say some, give some recognition.
Thanks, Chief Adam, for tag teaming with the emceeing today. Just before we wrap up, I just wanted to go back and highlight a couple of things that we've been doing at ATC, particularly around child family services. So Child Family Services, as we all know, has a very dark history in our Indigenous communities. And when I came to ATC and working with the chiefs, they were very committed to saying that it's time for change. And I am so proud of the work that ATC does and the Child Family Services department that we have within our organization. They work very hard in working with our communities and keeping our children safe, and often their story doesn't get to be told. And the successes that they've been working with in collaboration with our communities, because our communities have been making changes at a community level to making sure our kids are staying in community, connected to families, connected to culture. Just in terms of a couple of stats that I'd like to highlight that I was convinced I wasn't going to cry today. So, but a stat that's really important to me is that since 2018, we've had an increase of 41% of Indigenous caregivers in our program. That's either having our children that are already in care, making sure that they're being placed with Indigenous families with their kinship wherever and whenever possible. And that is being done at the work of working in collaboration with our communities and with our social workers at ATC, who work tirelessly to making sure that they look at every opportunity within family to keep kids at home and keep them connected. And as a result, we've also been looking at increased Indigenous foster homes as making sure that that connection is maintained within our organization. And so I wanted to highlight that, but there's also another piece that's really important to highlight, is that there's been a change in practice at ATC and how our social workers are working. We are increasing our prevention supports in our units and making sure that when there's opportunities to build, and there are always opportunities to build strengths within families before there is crisis. And so that is really the focus that we have moving forward. We're going to be opening up a family wellness center in Fort Chipewyan that's really going to be supporting those programs and those connections and building those resources at a community level. But more so, one of the things I'm so proud of with Charlene and her team is that over the last 2 years, we have not had to bring any children into care. Although there's still struggles in our communities, there's still at times there's crisis, It's a change in practice. It's a change in how our communities are working at a community level. We're looking at broadening the circle of the family within the community to look at ways of keeping kids safe, keeping kids connected. And so, the things that Chief Adam has talked about, that, the trauma of residential school and child family services doesn't continue. And it's really through our collaboration with communities and with ATC that we're working to change that. And in coming weeks and months, you're going to hear other announcements that are coming out of the Tribal Council. We're going to be working with the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation, as well as Chippewa Prairie First Nation, in really looking at creating new Indigenous laws to guide our Child Family Services Unit to ensure that we're maintaining those connections with our children, maintaining those connections with our community, and ensuring that our practices change so that we're not being governed under provincial and federal legislation. So that is work that's coming that we're entirely so proud of, and are being led by the Athabasca Tribal Council. So I just wanted to highlight that before you wrap up, because that's some good news stories that I wanted to make sure our team is recognized for, our communities are recognized for, but most importantly, our families are committed to. Thank you.
As all good things come to a close, regardless of how we view it in more ways than one, but I would like to have Chief Byrne, you want to come up for closing remarks on your behalf? No? Chief Byrne?
Thank you, everyone. When you're involved, when you're sitting in the side, you're always thinking, maybe I forgot to say this, maybe I forgot to say that, but it's always really important. I'm also a resident school survivor. Just imagine that I was 6 years old, and I was in the hallways. I could see the footsteps. I could sleep. I couldn't sleep at night, so I ran away with my brother and my sister. And I can't even remember the year. It's really funny. I couldn't remember the year that I ran away. Someone asked me what year. So when I put in for my claim, I just put in 1966. It could have been 65 or 67. I don't know. I was too young. But like Chief Adam says, I'm healing as well. And I don't think we've healed yet, because when he talks, I get emotional. So that's the healing journey that we're on. And we're all in this together. And that's why the Métis, ourselves, and the ACFM got together in Fort Chip. We're going to do this together. And we're going to cry together, and we're going to win together. Thank you. When Chief Adam talks about the treaty, Justin Martin was my great-grandfather. He also was signatory to the treaty. So my grandmother, who I was talking to Allison earlier, she made nets. She made nets for people to go fishing, and she made wall tents. So just imagine the pride that I carry with me and on the history of our culture. And that leads on to ATC was very, very prominent in bringing this land-based learning. I went to this graduation last week. I was very proud. I was at the Inspire Awards in Ottawa, but I was more prouder to be in my community with my people, just knowing that they're being looked after and that there's a great future ahead of them. So that's one of the things that I'm very proud of. Can you bring up that golf picture you had? I want to point out something for me and Allison again. I know we're kind of tooting our own horn here at the closing remarks. I just wanted to point out something that I thought was very important. I want to point out something that's very important. And it's very important to point this out. And back one more. So this kid here. Okay. So as leaders, we also when he said leadership, we also pass on our leadership. And same with Allison, she's got Hockey Bros that really impacts the community. But he did that because he's seen me do hockey schools for 5 years in my community for free. And I got industry to help me. But in turn, I got the Oil Barons alumni to come and teach the kids in turn. You get a free room, you get the weekend free trip, and you got to teach the kids hockey. So that was my idea. And my son must have been watching. So he's done that. Elson's done Hockey Bros. And you should see the kids in the communities, the small isolated communities, how grateful they are when they put on the new pair of skates. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget about that. And today, like you said, it's a closing to everyone. I did want to do the closing remarks because I did want to say, bottom of my heart, that when I joined the ATC as the Chiefs, I knew I was going to be amongst a really powerful group. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Powder. Grand Chief, you want to say a few words on? No? Okay, he's all good. He's speechless today. He wants to drive back home and he wants to pick up roadkill. if you see Arthur and if he's driving on the road and if he sees a fresh kill, guaranteed the knives are coming out. So that's Chief Nosky, and we work very close together, and I'm very proud to work alongside you still, Chief Janvey as well. Very proud to work alongside of you. Chief Powder, it's always a pleasure to work with you, and we come from the same community. My heart goes out for what we have to do there, but we strive to succeed. Chief Grandjan's not here. We grown a real close bond together. He was sad that he couldn't be here today, but he sends his regrets, and he says that he shares the success with ATC with all that we're doing, and he is a big component of ATC as well. And we welcome him back, and being part of ATC for so many years, and 15 years and counting, and it was a long struggle because of what I see and how we overcome adversities and continue to build. And it was amazing to see it firsthand, because I was told by a minister, Chief Adam, you will be old and gray as an old man before you see and accomplish anything you ever want to get done, because you're asking for so much. Well, look at all the things that we've accomplished. And I wish he was here today, to come up to me and say, you've done it in such a short period of time. How the hell did you do it? With all the success of all our friends and all our partners around, that's what makes ATC so successful. So on behalf of the Athabasca Tribal Council, from the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation, who I represent, thank you. In conclusion, day's over. Meeting adjourned.